Well, hello everybody. It is a Tuesday afternoon, evening, I suppose, beginning of the evening, end of the afternoon over there in the East Coast where Matt is joining me. It's here 10:15 at night on my side. So kind of nice actually to start a little bit earlier so I'm not just dragging by the end of the podcast or in the morning. So it's going to be fun. We have a pretty interesting topic to discuss. And we didn't really talk about this before, but there are some weird things going on with Trump these days too. So maybe we'll save that for the end of the
No,
show. Yeah, pretty
you
strange.
don't. You
Like
don't say.
people saying he's dying, and I know you're not a fan, but pretty weird stuff. But we'll see if we have time for it. We'll talk about it. But the main topic of conversation will be to discuss the still pro homosexual papacy, quote unquote papacy. Meeting with
Yeah, in the
James.
land of make believe. People don't realize too that you got up for the live stream, which I thoroughly enjoyed. At like 3 a.m. I know
3 a.m.
you
You
were
can see it in my
wearing
face
your.
though.
I did not notice. No, I didn't.
No?
I was
Nice.
sitting where I'm sitting now, and I just was. I was locked in. You know when you're locked in or whatever.
Yeah.
I was just, you had. I mean, everything was good. You had your Pokemon shirt on. Like, everything was just. You looked like you were gonna go catch a Bulbasaur. Like, it was great. And people, they. I think some viewers thought that we were gonna have another Castman versus Diamond. That's not what that was or
No,
was
wasn't meant
supposed
to
to
be.
be. It was just a couple of guys. You were virtual, so no drinks or food out, but just having a conversation. And I, just to jump on this really quick, I related a lot to what Anthony said and had to say, and a lot of the things that he was in. I wasn't so much into the miracles. I think he brought that up first, and that really
True.
to me was never a thing that that it never really spoke much to me. For a number of reasons that I won't get into for this show, but it never really stood up to me that much. But other points that he made, like, man, and actually your show made me do a little bit of digging. I first interacted with Mario in 2013 on Twitter.
Shoot.
And
Wow.
I know we're veteran, 12 years. And yeah, speaking of 3 years, Kev, September with our show here.
That's wild.
Monday mornings, which is now Tuesday afternoons. Yeah. 3 years, September 2022. But no, where was I going with this? Just a lot of the things he was saying and how I interacted with Mario in 2013, and it made me think, like, for people, maybe someone like yourself or others who haven't really stepped back and seen what looks like the absurdity of what you're saying, because in my head, and I won't go on about this for too much, but I remember saying to Mario, and I was tweeting 12 years ago, like, I sat in front of my television, I watched white smoke raise up into the sky, I watched Bergoglio come out on the balcony, I watched him speak. What are you saying? There's no pope. This is like you're all in a fantasy land. It's almost like if you were to compare it to people in the 70s, tell them you didn't watch the moon landing, you didn't see that. It's almost like you're off your rocker a little bit to say these things. But once those scales fall off the eyes, like you see things from a different lens. So I resonated a lot, and I thought it was a really great discussion. I wish it was longer. I know you had to get to work and all that, but it kind of ended.
No, I think Anthony was ready to end. I mean, I got the sense that he had a lot to think about, type of a thing. And I really truly appreciate Anthony, and he handled it really well. He asked things really nicely, seemed like a really genuine guy. And it's like, to me, that's what more can you ask of someone actually looking for truth, being genuine, having good questions. And I mean, he's not in my position, and I'm not in his. I hope that he does become a state of a contest, because obviously I think that's the right position. But again, if he's genuinely looking for that, which it seemed like he is, that heck, good for him. And just to come on our show, a show that is known to be a state of a contest show, that's a huge shift, man. I mean, I'm sure you'd agree with me.
Absolutely,
that idea that someone like him would even talk with us, would even come on with Mario Dirksen, that's a big step.
Not only that, but I admire his humility, because I think he knew, and I hope he wouldn't mind that I say this, but I think he knew that he was out of his league. in a certain sense too. Mario spoke a lot. Mario knows a lot, and he put out a lot of things where he explained the thesis, in a lot of ways to him. So he knew that he was coming into a show where he did not have the knowledge and he admitted it. He says, I haven't studied this stuff in depth. And that's a really humbling position to put yourself in, to know that the people you're talking with, two of them, know way more about this than I do. I'm going to be out of my league, but I still want to just sit there and have a discussion and ask some questions that probably a lot of people that I know are thinking. And when you have these sort of talks, you realize, oh, it's not just some internet anime phenomenon of people on Twitter. These are real conversations, real people have it in real life. And it was just great. So I hope more, I personally, and I know I'm not alone, hope more conversations like that happen, where people can actually, that open form of discussion. And it was also great to have Mario have points where he said, I'm not sure, or I don't recall, or off the top of my head, I can't remember. I like those little moments of vulnerability, because we don't have everything off the top of our head either.
Right.
There are times people do have to look, we do have to research, we do have to dig up some things. So it was just it was a great safe space, Kev.
Well, that's what we provide. That's what we provide.
That's all you provide. Yeah, I saw the little rainbow flag on your corner there.
Oh, yeah.
This is the safe. Yeah, I thought
safe space.
I caught
that.
Speaking of rainbows,
equally. You know what we need to have now, Matt? We need to have a theological discussion with just women. So we need to have, we need to do it. Make sure that we give them their respect too. So we need a woman from the R&R side and woman from the Sede side. So any of you ladies who are willing to offer to do that. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
It was really good. And I think
what a long show.
You see on Twitter today, with the whole James Martin thing, man, I tell you, Matt, momentum is really changing. You can feel it. You can feel like people are really getting upset with this. Did I call this or what, Matt? I totally called this. I said, they're going to start to see he holds the same positions as Bergoglio. He was handpicked by Bergoglio. He's going to beat Bergoglio 2.0. And the people are going to say, I can't do this for 20 more years. I can't do it. And I think we've already seen it, Matt. We're 3 months in and people are like, I can't do this anymore.
You and I had the show on this. You said all of that. And I remember bringing up, I remember saying when Bergoglio was elected, the first thing that I did was type in the name Jorge Bergoglio Latin Mass, because I wanted to see if he was going to be a friend or a foe. And it came out pretty good at the beginning. I found some articles that kind of gave me the impression like, all right, he's going to be like Ratzinger and we're going to have our Latin Mass and we're good to go. It takes time. It's not an immediate like, oh no. Michael Voris, I remember when he started his show on Francis, he was like, Francis speaks like a true vicar of Christ. It's just you pointed it out on immediately in whatever month it was, March maybe, I forget when this all happened, but
end of April, I think.
End of April, right. You were like, people need to just wait and see and let these things unfold, and which and you did a great show. I remember, I think it was with Louis and Mario. I think the three of you were on. Yeah. You highlighted everything of what went on behind the scenes in these conclaves and what Bergoglio shaped out of the Cardinals, what who he liked, who he didn't like, who he kind of favored and promoted into high rankings, and who he dismissed and stripped out of their positions. You laid out all of the signs as to where we were headed with that, and we're starting to see the fruits of it. And I think Father Geckel pointed this out once before. It's not going to get better. You're going to see more and more bombshells of scandal and blasphemy and heresy. They're all in the schedule, and we're just waiting now. And I think this was his first event where people were like, "Not again."
Yeah, I agree. So, and you saw it again. Anyone who was on Twitter today, your Pope splainers and your R&R crowd were out and in loud voice, because they just see again, they're gonna have to do this all over again, and they're gonna have to do it for years. And I mean, some of the people like Michael Matt's rubbing his hands because he knows this is how he makes money. Yeah, I'm sorry. I know I'm pointing at him, I'm calling him out, but the dude, he this is what he does. He is a R&R expert. That's like what he does. It's Peter Kwasnowski, these other guys that's what they do. So they're happy about it, at least to a point. at least.
And you know why? You've already seen all of the damage control that these men have done for a decade under Bergoglio. That's where they, as you just said, that's where they made their money. That's where they got to pull up their office chairs and turn on the light next to their computer and just get to work, Pope-splaining. And this is one. You're right. Once they saw this, they were like, "Great! They're going to go into this whole entourage of trying to defend this." When everybody knows, I think in their hearts that this. What are you going to say if in a serious situation, the only reason why James Martin would be in the Vatican, in the palaces of Rome, would be to be laicized? That's it.
Yeah.
There's nothing. He's not. There's nothing more to investigate. His track record is abysmal. I made a post. He's called the Holy Ghost she on numerous occasions. Listen to her. He has said he has blasphemed numerous times. He has done the most absurd things with altars and things you can't even imagine existing inside any Catholic structure whatsoever. He should have faced the most harshest of all punishments. And you can't say that, well, Prevost didn't know who he was. He knows very well who he is. And we found a very nice endorsement where Martin had nothing but nice things to say about it. You're going to get the same message. In fact, Disclosed TV, a very popular online account, said they had footage of Martin last night saying, if you liked what you got out of Francis for the LGBT whatever community, you're going to love what you're going to get out of Leo. And we see where this is going. And like I said, the only reason why he should have been there was to face severe canonical disciplines and penances, and he's not going to get the Bishop Strickland treatment of go away and never speak again. That's only for the people who kind of want to someway want to be Catholic. It was bad optics. And not to mention that a few things to pile onto this, he just met with this, I'm reading this from the news here, pro-sodomy, pro-abortion advocate Sister Lucia. That's a sad name there to take. Karam. I didn't catch her name until I was reading the Sister Lucia. This sister denies the perpetual virginity of the Blessed Virgin Mary. She advocates for sodomy marriage in the church. She's an Argentinian Dominican living in Spain. So he just met with her and Martin, and he's smiling so nicely in the picture. She's probably going to be the first female priest.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
You said it.
I've said it. I really think it could be 20 years, maybe on his deathbed, he's gonna allow women priests. I do think that is in the pipeline. It's coming down, and I think it's so interesting because as I've been doing this series with Louis Verrecchio on Vatican II, we just recorded right before this show. Part 2 of Lumen Gentium, and it's so interesting. It doesn't have anything to do yet with the homosexual stuff, which I think is. I'll ask you a question about that here in a second. But it's really interesting how you see all of this other stuff that you see right now. The fruits of it they all come from Vatican II. It's all the religious indifferentism, the ecumenism, the apostasy. It all was from the 1960s. It's pretty wild. Yeah. So anyone who has not already watched that series, you got to watch the series. It is unbelievably good. It will really give you a whole new perspective of Vatican II. Even if you're a cradle sede like me, I'm telling you, you got to watch the series. It's really, really good. But my question for you, Matt, do you think that this issue, that the homosexual stuff, let's say in that hardcore Novus Ordo, like the Novus Ordo. So if you're saying the 2 billion Catholics on earth, what is the percentage that are pro James Martin, do you think?
Oh, most. Many.
You think so? Interesting.
Oh, yeah. People. Oh, yeah. I feel like I can't articulate it. So this idea that there are these reverend Novus Ordos where people are just, they're in the conciliar structures of the church, and their mass is in English, but it's versus populum, ad orientem, and some parts are in Latin, and now everybody who attends is pretty conservative. That is such a small fraction of the number of Catholics that exist in name nationwide and worldwide. this stuff is soaked in naturalism and humanism. I can think of every parish that I have visited across state lines, and just can. You don't know how many people are pro-abortion. You don't know how many people are pro-gay marriage. They're pro all of these things. Very, very few people actually adhere, and they're out there. Believe me, they're out there, and they are in pockets, and some parishes are flowing with them. But this is not the overall consensus. People who maybe haven't set foot in it don't realize how it's so. And we said this on the show a couple weeks ago. It's drenched in rot all across the board. Now, that's not to say that 50, 60 years ago, people in the pews didn't hold to heretical or errors either. I'm sure they did, but where we're at today is a nuclear bomb of error. Or even if people are, maybe if they're not supportive of it, they don't mind. They tolerate it. Who am I to judge? I'm tolerant. It's not my thing, but I'm not going to tell anybody who they can and cannot love and things like that. It's certainly tolerable. You won't find calling it a sin or calling it a sin that cries out to vengeance, or that is completely. And in fact, if you said stuff like that, you'd probably be disciplined or asked to leave. These topics are untouchable in the bad way.
But do you think that the normal person, just going to the Novus Ordo church, even though, yeah, of course, it's not Catholic, I know that, but most of them are not at bad will. These are not people who are wanting to go to the wrong religion. Not most of them. I mean, I can't imagine that they're on the wrong path. Of course, I believe that, but I don't think they're bad willed. So do you think most of them you think are supporting this homosexual stuff?
But I think you got to see through the lens too of all of these people are Vatican II. All they know is Vatican II. All they know is the Vatican II hierarchy. Who has spoken out against it?
Yeah,
not John Paul II, not Ben. They said things like, marriage is between a man and a woman. All right, but we get that from them. But there no Prevost, Francis, Benedict, John Paul II, no bishop, no priest, no. This is not a thing, and so they get their knowledge of, well, I read the Bible and Christ says love everybody, or Christ never spoke about gay marriage. That's all you hear. There's no, I'm not even sure how to articulate this other than saying like that is they're so entrenched with this new humanistic naturalism theology that has been so perverted in our world, really, that they don't know any better. They truly don't. I just see one of the comments here. The Novus Ordo bishops are concelebrating with lesbian Anglican priestesses. Nobody cares. That is very normal. In fact, when I was growing up, just one more point really quick. When I was growing up, there was constant ecumenical interfaith gatherings on our town green or for Christmas and all. I didn't know any. To think that you were a Lutheran and that's bad. We were always taught that these were our friends. These are the same as us. It's very different.
Well, and silence gives consent, right? And that's an interesting thing. So you see a lot of the Pope splainers, Eric Salmons being one of the classic ones. I saw that in the comments. I mean, just shockingly, ridiculously stupid tweets. I'm sorry. Just like, come on, man. Just don't tweet that. Just don't say anything. Like, don't try to defend it. Just don't say anything. But what blows me away is they're like, yeah, this is really bad. But it's okay. It's just coming from the priest or now, and they say he's just meeting with them. We don't really know. You can't really judge. It's not teaching heresy. But it's like, again, all of these things, they're silent on it. As you said, they don't rule. They don't say anything. They don't. If a bishop goes and concelebrates, obviously we know it's not actually concelebration because it's not actually mass, but pretends to concelebrate a mass with a lesbian woman of a different religion, of course that is absolutely the case that she should be excommunicated, or he should be excommunicated immediately, obviously. But they're not ever. And so that is consent, right? That is giving consent. It is not, in the end, how do these people who keep saying this say, oh yeah, well, but it's not ex cathedra. Okay, but I mean, isn't there some point where eventually you have to say enough is enough? Right?
Were you familiar at all with the EWTN Mother Angelica movement in the 80s and 90s and what happened with all of that?
I know about her, but I don't know her movement. No.
So she so she was. I guess I'll just get to the point here. She they had a huge battle in the 80s. Mother Angelica, EWTN, they were the conservative wing of American Catholicism. And it all really started where now she was a defender of the Vatican II documents. She was one of those who felt that they were misinterpreted or misapplied, and any scandal that arises, it's not from these documents themselves, but poor interpretation, whatever. She thought, though, she grew up and lived pre-Vatican, took her vows pre-Vatican, and she felt for a while that a lot was lost once we got into the 60s. They changed their habits. A lot of the practices, convents that occurred in the convents were lost or discarded, all of the talk. And when she launched her network and they aired the mass, she had the Novus Ordo mass on her channel on EWTN, but it was Ad Orientem, and her bishop contacted her saying, you can't do that. You're confusing the people by having the priest face the other way. There's some Latin in the liturgy. You can't do that. And she replied by saying, well, this is how it's reverent this way, and it looks good this way. And the whole battle started. Well, whose church is this? The bishop's or Mother Angelica's? And so they threatened, if you continue to air Ad Orientem liturgies, we're intervening here and shutting and pulling your network off channels. Cardinal Mahoney out of Los Angeles in the early 90s, I think late 80s, denied. This is a cardinal. He denied transubstantiation. Mother Angelica called him out on it, and she got disciplined heavily for that. And they continued to snowball. The United States Council of Bishops formed against her. Insiders who knew the ins and outs of the Vatican, and because she was reported to the Vatican multiple times. She had an ally in John Paul II, which helped, but she was reported to the Vatican multiple times. And here she was, she was fully entrenched in Vatican II Novus Ordoism, but held onto the conservative wing of it, and they tried to destroy her. There were people who they worked for EWTN who they would go to the Vatican and report live from Rome. They would get these exclusive meetings with the hierarchs in Rome, and they would come back and they would say, we met with people there, and they want to destroy you, in the sense that, like, they want to kill you. You're doing the devil. You can't. This has got to stop. And it was a huge argument. And I've read Raymond Arroyo as a writer for EWTN. He wrote books all about this, and I remember some of it too. I grew up watching her, and it's just any sort of hint or touch of Catholicity, even if it's in the Novus Ordo, is not tolerated at all. This is not welcome here. People don't know how bad it's gotten in the church. I think there is a swing, actually, to a bit more conservative among younger people. But man, yeah, that was a very long answer to your question, but it's not tolerated. Catholicism is not tolerated at all by these people. And,
well, it's interesting when you read some of the documents, like I've been doing with Louis, and I forget which one, but it was sometime in the 80s, JP2, he said that, Vatican II was new. It was something new for the church. It was a fundamentally new process. And so it's like, it is a Novus Ordo, is a new order. It is a new church. It is not the Catholic Church. I mean, it's like, they tell you it. If you ask them, they will tell you that it is not Catholic. That's the shocking thing about it. Again, like, sorry to keep going back to Louis, but there's some of these things that are so shocking. Like, they asked during the Vatican Council, they asked the liberal side, okay, why do you want to change it from is to subsists in? And they gave the answer, and in writing, they pretty much said, well, we want to make it more ecumenical. We want to make it more open to other religions. They wrote it down, Matt. They wrote it down. They said it. They said, we want to be less, we want our religion to be less true. We want to be more open for other religions. That's apostasy. It's on paper. Man. Crazy.
If you, I'm pretty sure. Now I remember all this because I used to listen to Father Hesse. I loved him at the time. Man, he was a staunch SSPXer, huge recognize and resist guy. He was funny though. I hope God was merciful to him. But anyway, he used to give a talk. I believe, no, this is from memory, but I believe John Paul II's first encyclical, Redemptor Hominis, he spoke a number of times on the conciliar church, the church of the new advent. He used these terms on multiple occasions, truly to signal that a new religion has been brought forth. You can, again, you don't got to take my word for it. I'm pretty sure it's Redemptor. I should Google this while I'm talking, which I'm another thing that I'm bad at, but I think I'm terrible at this. But yeah, Redemptor Omnis, he mentions conciliar church, the church of the new advent, which what does that even mean?
Yeah.
The second religion or whatever, but he's not the first to do that too. Paul VI said this church has to now be shaped with the mind of the council. They all knew that this new religion was being promulgated and shaped and formed and all of that, and pushed upon people. And this is why we see things like what we see with Prevost going on yesterday and today. It's all this humanistic, everybody loves everybody religion that is completely incompatible with Catholicism. I just was reading last night, Pope Eugene IV at the Council of Florence stated ex cathedra that we declare that anyone who thinks contrary to the teachings that we teach here, that we promulgate, we consider them outside the body of Christ, which is the church. And if any man so wishes to be saved, he must first and foremost profess the Catholic religion. The simple question is would James Martin say that? And would Prevost say that? Or Francis say that? And you all know that deep in your heart, you could try to Pope explain all you want. They won't. They can't. Pigs will fly.
I have to comment because I just appreciate that your light reading is the Council of Florence.
said that?
No, I'm just saying it. I was just reading that last night. I'm just picturing you just kind of like, just like offhandedly just reading,
documents.
What I appreciate that. Well, I'm impressed. That's pretty good. I always just happen to be reading about the Council of Florence.
With my cup of tea, my glass of wine.
That's pretty good. Any ladies out there? Matt's still unmarried, so I mean, if you want to get a guy who just reads Council of Florence in his free time,
I really don't do that. What I do what I do is Denzinger, which I've mentioned a billion times. Yeah. That's where I read it. That's where I read it from. You pick your topic, you pick your pope, whatever, and you scroll through, you browse through it, and it's a very easy read, especially the version I've got. They're all a little different. I've got one that it's chunked really nicely, so it doesn't look like an overwhelming amount of reading. You got a little passage break, and it's really nice and organized, and you just come across so much. And I think I commented on the live stream that Anthony should from your live stream last week, he should pick up Denzinger, look at what the church teaches on the Roman Pontiff. You can find it in the back, and just go through it all and ask yourself. Mario taught me this 7-8 years ago now at this point, where you see the Pope insert Francis's name or Prevost's name and say, does this apply to him? And you're going to find yourself again saying no. And then you see men like all of them, Pius XII, Pius XI, Pius X, Benedict XV, anyone, you can hear them saying these things because they did. I brought up a point as well. Pope Pius XII was very firm on people. The world itself has lost its sense of discipline, and Pius XI would call clerics or whoever into his office, and as a penance, he would have them kneel on a block of wood for hours on end for their heresies they may have uttered and all that. And he was actually one of the reasons why Pius XII was elected, because a lot of men in the church felt that Pius XI was too hardline. We needed a little softer voice, which he was. But like, man, like think of that. Like, and Pius X did the same thing. You're summoned to Rome because you have spread some heresy, and you're getting heavily punished on the floor with blocks of wood by the Vicar of Christ as your penance. To think that could even happen anymore by any of them. Maybe if you sin against the environment, that's a big one, or you proselytize.
Yeah.
But other than those two, too great. What remember Francis said the sin of going backwards. That's it. That was the new sin a few years ago. The sin of going backwards.
Man. It's like the altar boys. Don't you dare fold your hands. It's interesting. And
yeah, pull those apart.
Matt W. here comments, as much as there is heresy everywhere, the institution still remains. So it's not a new church in that sense. It's just that 98% of clerics adhere to modernism and don't intend to do what priests do. But I mean, if you're saying heresy is everywhere, well, what do you mean the institution still remains? You mean there are people who call themselves popes and bishops and cardinals? I mean, what do they do that's Catholic?
Well,
tell me what they do that is Catholic. How are they Catholic? They are Catholic in name.
The point here, the point here, which is why it's very different. They love to mention the Gallican heresy. What's so different is Matt W's point is, where is the heresy coming from? Is everything. It's coming from this so-called spotless chair, where Pius IX said the Catholic religion will always be celebrated, so it's not like these heresies are being spread amongst clergy, among bishops, which can happen, and we've seen it happen. Oh, did I call it the Gallican heresy? What am I? I can't think of what it's called. Wow.
Gallican is the
No.
Arianism.
Sorry, Arianism. These sort of things can indeed spread because any see can fall except the Holy See. So no matter what happens to the church everywhere, the Catholic faith will always be preserved in a spotless, pristine way in Rome, in the Holy See, in the
and that's the infallibility, right? The infallibility,
and that is right. It cannot fall.
Yeah, and it cannot. You are always safe in listening to the papacy, even if it's not ex cathedra. It's always you are always safe in that because you have to be. So how do you say? Matt said earlier in the chat, he said he just doesn't listen to what comes from Rome, and so it's like, okay, but so who do you listen to then? I mean, are you listening to Eric Sammons, who's just like, no, it's all good. Don't worry, bro. It's fine. There's nothing. It's bad, but it's fine. It's not bad enough. But it can't happen. It is indefectible. It is infallible. It must not err.
People bring up to John the 12th, Pope John the 12th, who taught that souls do not share in the beatific vision until the final judgment. And people say, "Oh, look, the Pope taught heresy." First of all, with that example, it was not defined yet, and people tend to forget that a lot of the issues, that we profess and believe and adhere to today have been, I would a word maybe developed or have been debated and then spoken on. When Pope John the 12th said that, when he said that the souls who die and go to they don't share in the beatific vision, they don't see God until the final judgment, there was no church. The church had not spoken on that issue yet. There was no answer to that question. These were things that the church had to work out. And so the worst, as you just said, Kev, the worst that could be said of you, if you went at your judgment, was, I was wrong in adhering to that belief, but I sided with the Roman pontiff. And that alone is your infallible safety net. It might have been wrong, but it was not pernicious error. It wasn't something grave at the time, So nothing more can be said of you. That in a time of uncertainty, the church had not yet spoken on this issue of what happens to the souls who die and are worthy of heaven. Hey, I am not a studied man on this. I bowed my head in submission to the Roman pontiff, and that is your infallible safety net of what Christ promised. And when you understand that, it makes our church so very safe that, you don't have to read and study and know everything. You can bow your head in complete and total silence. St. Alphonsus Liguori said that, inside with the vicar of Christ. This idea of what Eric Sammons and Taylor Marshall are doing, watching the so-called popes every word and ready to release a blog or a video, that is so toxic and so poisonous, because true Catholics do not ever do that. In fact, when Pope Clement shut down the Jesuits, St. Alphonsus, he was so hurt by that decision because it affected him greatly. And he said that we accept this judgment in humble silence, and we bow our heads and accept this judgment of God. That is a true Catholic response. We don't agree with it. We don't like it. It is painful to us. But out of obedience to the Vicar of Christ, we accept this judgment of Pope Clement as being the judgment of God himself, and we bow our heads in silent obedience. That is beautiful, and that is what our church is. And people like Taylor Marshall, as you said, they can't wait to critique and all that. That is a very schismatic attitude, which is so adversary to the body of Christ in the church, which is the church.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. And Matt W, again, I would ask you, can the Catholic Church lead souls to hell? Can they actively lead souls to hell? Now, I understand the ordinary jurisdiction, etc. There are mysteries, as I think Father Cicada said, in the Sede Contest position. But there are not contradictions. There are not gaping errors. There are not the issues of saying that your Pope, Matt, just met with a horrible supposed priest, and nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to happen with any bad thing that happens in the next
something will happen. He'll be made a cardinal. That's what's going to happen. Exactly. Cardinal we're going to be sitting here, and he's going to canonize Francis. We're going to have Saint Pope Francis. We're going to have Cardinal James Martin. We're going to have women priests, but that aura, that Latin aura, is going to be just beautiful.
Yeah, it's what we've gotten. Yeah,
it is what's going to happen. And I see Catherine's position here, or comment here, with the rebellion, right? And Saint Robert, they love to quote Bellarmine all the time. They take Bellarmine out of context, or they misapply his arguments by just looking at a snippet and don't read the whole thing and where he's coming from. He himself said, "Who is to judge if the Pope has ever wandered off? The sheep don't lead the shepherd." So that's one of the things too, is like, who's to say that, Mario pointed this out on the show last Friday when Francis released whatever he did, and Peter Kwasniewski went to Twitter and declared it null and void.
Yeah.
That and he wasn't joking. Like, he decided from his MacBook Air Silver Edition 2023 that the documents promulgated by the Holy See are not valid, and we're the Protestants, Kev.
Well, and Kwasniewski also did the same thing with Pius X. That's what Mario said. That also in the same.
Yes, he's called him a liberal.
It wasn't just that. He said that. Yeah, pretty much there were things that we should just not take from Pius X, and that's the point, Matt. When you start saying that for any pope, if you say that if you believe Leo is the pope, and you start saying, "Nah, I don't really have to listen to him," well, shoot. You don't have to listen to St. Peter.
A do-it-yourself church.
Yeah, you actually do become much more like a Protestant, which is ironic because that's what they always call us. And that's you can't do that. You have to obey. That's just it. That's part of the faith. It is a monarchy. It is not a democracy, which it's become one more in the Novus Ordo Church because of collegiality, etc. But it shouldn't be. It should be a monarchy because the Pope is the direct mouthpiece of Christ on earth. And again, it's just something that I think most people just seem to not at all understand these days. Which is,
he's the supreme. Yeah. You can, again, this is all in Denzinger too. You can read, he's the supreme judge of the faithful. There's no appeals. You don't be like, I disagree here. It's final here. And I see Jake's comment here as well. So in a weird way, the Novus Ordo folks are correct when they say the SSPX are schismatic. This is always confusing to some people because they're like, well, according to who? Yeah, right.
Bishop Sanborn, I just saw something from Bishop Sanborn. He's like, yeah, really, they're schismatic from both sides. No matter which way you come from. You're from the Sede Vacanta side.
Both angles.
Because they don't respect the papacy. They don't. They're just like, yeah, we see him as Pope, but he's not. If you come from the Novus Ordo side, then they don't. They also don't do everything that they think the Pope says they should. So it doesn't work. It is like their position is completely untenable. I think that the position of the FSSP is much, much better, though wrong. It's much better than the SSPX, in my opinion.
Yeah, and people have been confused because they're not sentence schismatics like the Eastern Orthodox, right? You've got your Eastern Orthodox who have been cut off by the church and have said you are a sentence sect. and what have you, the Great Schism. It's not they're because they say, look, we're not schismatic, we're in Rome, we're celebrating on their altars and all of that. Their behavior. So I would say they're schismatic in principle. They're not sentenced. Their principle is that they are schismatic. They are the final judge of what they want to accept and don't want to accept. If Leo gives them something they like, they say, we're going to accept the judgment of the Roman pontiff. If Leo gives them something they don't like, well, then he doesn't have the authority to say that. You heard that argument all the time. He doesn't have any authority to blah, blah, blah. They judge that every time, and they've behaved that way since Archbishop Lefebvre founded them, in just, doing what they want, when they want, how they want, whether Rome likes it or not. So I see Anthony getting a Catholic Family Podcast mug. You should send one,
yes.
with a little, maybe a cannoli inside, awesome, or something. Maybe.
If you really did that, then I appreciate that. That's pretty cool. Yeah, that's how.
That's great.
And it is one of those things. It's like you do have to make sure that you stay, like in that show, you stay charitable and calm and make sure. But it is kind of hard, because really some of these positions, it's like you see again this whole thing with James Martin. It's like how can we just talk about that calmly? How can we just be like, it's okay, just that he's a bad dad, right? Isn't that one of their arguments? He's just a bad dad. He's making a bad decision, and let's just ignore him on this one. It's like, come on, guys. I don't know. That is a tough one. Byzantine Rite, I think that's certainly schismatic. I think that has been declared schismatic.
The hardest part for me during that show, Kev, was my mic was off. Every now and then, I wanted to just chime in with I was like, I'm sitting in the same spot I was watching the show. This was not a laptop event. I have an iMac. I had my iMac on and had my cup of tea, and I was ready for the event. And
nice.
Yeah, every now and then I'm like, man, my mic there's no request to speak button. Yeah. I have to hope Kevin sees my comments in the chat. The Byzantine Rite. Yeah, so the Byzantine Rite, it's the same thing. It's a different rite of the Vatican II religion. They all believe Vatican II. They all believe Prevost is the Pope. But there's really nothing to say.
Why they're schismatic, right? I mean, I guess the Orthodox. I guess the rite itself.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're saying that the rite itself, I mean, it should be if. Yeah, exactly as you said. I mean, if it's not modern, if it's just talking about just the rite, as we're talking about the Latin rite, then of course it could be valid. I mean, it's just right now, I as far as I know, we don't have anyone who says the valid Byzantine rite.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. Their orders do differ. They've mixed so much. It's very difficult. There's a church here, Eastern Ukrainian, right? I think it was, which is under the umbrella of Rome, and they have valid orders. At least this priest here does, and it's just it gets very tricky. But yeah, the main thing, I keep hiccuping. The main thing with all of that, and the Diamond Brothers are listening. That killed me. That of course, Peter's watching. From
right when I'm talking about the Diamond Brothers.
Yeah. They're when he's doing his Ben Shapiro rubbing of the hands. Look at this. They're crumbling before us. So all these rites, they're all the umbrella under the same because remember, the Pope is the principle of unity in the church. You've got all these rites under the one unity of the Roman pontiff. So whether it's Novus Ordo or SSPX, they're all una together with Leo, our Pope. But Matt's point here too, the SSPX does what the Sedes do as well. Do with what?
No, but the issue is that they disobey the Pope, so they're completely different than Sedes. They say he is the Pope, and they say, but we're not going to listen to you as Pope. Their position is completely untenable. I'm sorry. It doesn't make sense. It is not a Catholic position. Now, back when it was from Archbishop Lefebvre, in the heat of it, you understand, like, it made a lot of sense. He couldn't really decide, was it the church? Was it not? Like, I can really empathize with him, because this was 30 years ago.
I can understand.
But now it's like, no, come on. Is he the Pope or not? If you say he is, then you must obey him. It's not optional.
And the point, the SSPX do not keep the faith. They have taken every single magisterial, I see the word there, document on the papacy and have thrown it in the garbage.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
no, the SSPX do not keep the faith. Now that's not to say that there are not people who are SSPX goers who reject the council, and they are out there. Of course they are. I was one of them.
No.
Right.
We're talking about the SSPX
the organization
as an organization. No, individually, I'm sure there are many who are Sede Vacantis who go there because
there are. Oh, there are.
Which
there are.
That's a whole different topic. Unicum, etc. It is a very, very complicated issue, which we'll let the bishops, discuss. But that's different. The subjective and objective. Objectively, it's a terrible position.
Yeah.
Terrible. It's as you said, it's throwing away all the documents about the papacy.
And what's funny too, Kev, is I thought of this a couple of weeks ago, and I'm going to use it every time. The SSPX members, anyway, say you Sedes are always, you're not united. One bishop cannot agree with the other. Blah 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 blah. The divisions within the society are massive. You have SSPX hardliners. I knew them, who want nothing to do with the council, who want nothing to do with anything Vatican II promulgated. They want nothing to do with the new mass. They are in the mold of Archbishop Lefebvre to the T. And then you have others who they just call themselves conservative Catholics who like the old mass, who are very willing to reconcile. Maybe Bishop Fillet-ish sort of mold here. So they're very split. I'm reading. What have you? The Our Lady is God.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't understand this comment either. He says, Hinden Peter says, "What do you guys think of Fatima movement, aka Our Lady is God?" I don't. Our Lady is definitely not God, so I don't hold anything in that. It holds possession of and promotes the real third secret since 2011. I've never heard of that, so I don't know. But anything that says Our Lady is God, no, that's certainly not.
I think I've seen. I think it's a Twitter account. Now that I see, now that I think about it, I think it is an account that goes around.
Hold possession of the third secret. I would take anything that says that with a very big grain of salt. Very.
I do wonder where it is, and if it's still like. Do you think? I'm sure they have it.
It's at the Vatican. Yeah.
I got to get in there. Where's Taylor Marshall? And remember the Alex Traganaga, whatever his last name was. The whole thing was
the Austrian guy who disappeared.
Yeah. I gotta get.
Oh yeah, that was secret. pretty sketch. Yeah.
There have been these. I don't know. I try not to buy into it. You've got these people who say this one priest in the 1980s had a vision when he was sleeping one night of what the third secret. I try not to get caught up in all this sort of stuff, because then you read it and you're like, that must be it, because it's not. I don't know. I try not to take too much, because there is that well-known, I think, piece that says the third secret actually says a wicked council will be planned, and a schism will rip the tunic of my son's church and all. I mean, I maybe, but I certainly try not to promote that or put it out there, because who knows? The third secret came from someone's dream from a bed in Ireland. I don't know.
Yeah. But in the end, it doesn't really matter. It's all happened. It's in the past. I mean, whatever the third secret was, it is certainly already done.
It's very interesting.
So I think, yeah, of course. And I think we just need to know that the third secret that the Novus Ordo says is the third secret is not. And we can guess that the third secret was probably about the council. And I think that makes sense. But, in the end, I honestly think it's a more interesting topic with, say, Sister Lucy Truth, because I think that's more of like a scientific thing where people can say, okay, wait, they did away with the seer of Fatima. Why? Why would they do that? That's a big deal.
Third secret.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, right. Yeah. She definitely knew it. Well, they did. Yeah, it's a really good point.
That's been my theory the whole time.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother rabbit hole. When I was, I don't know what year it might have been, when I just started attending the Latin Mass with the indult, I remember reading a lot of Fatima and reading of Sister Lucia, and I noticed a bit of the difference. This was just me. I could have started Sister Lucy Truth, but only I was old enough, because I noticed first. That's a joke. But
how old
I caught that? Huh? I caught it first, And no, I things weren't adding up to me, but I do believe that is that she knew the third secret, and they had to get rid of her because, of course, I'm sure she would have spoken out a lot about it. The new Sister Lucia is so ecumenical and is so this is not the same woman who said multiple times, man is in imminent danger. This is the last warning. Like, this is not the same woman who's always laughing, and well, she's dead now, but this is not the same person at all. But the sister, you've had him on a few times, right? This guy, his shows are very interesting. And
he's awesome.
He took, if I remember correctly, a completely non-partisan approach. He took this on from just to let me review this without any blinders on, right? This was a full scientific research.
He certainly approaches it. He approaches it scientifically. He gets experts in the field to determine
who don't care either way.
He's not just like, I'm really sure about this, so listen. No, he's like, hey, look, this is an expert in handwriting or in facial recognition, and it's overwhelming. The evidence is that it is not the same person. And again, that makes you really kind of wonder, the Vatican, and it had to have been all the way up to the Pope, because Paul VI even met her, supposedly. So
did John Paul too.
To the top. So did John Paul too, right? And so it's all the way to the top. So why? Yeah, the fake one, exactly. So why did they replace her? And that's a pretty interesting question.
I wonder if, like, when John Paul II, I think there's that picture of John Paul II holding her hand. Does he know that, like, this woman is the imposter? I would assume he must.
Oh yeah.
I have so many questions. I need a Q&A with the Vatican hierarchy. How do I get in there? Oh man. If I made a confession to an FSSP priest, would it be recommended to reconfess that confession? Yeah. I don't know personally any FSSP priest who has a valid ordination. I think there's some out there because Cardinal Arens, what's his name? Arenze, something like that. He's still a valid bishop. He was ordained in like 67 or so, and I think he's done some work for the Fraternity of St. Peter. He's still alive. But man,
but if he changed the form, I would certainly, if you want my opinion, I would certainly confess again. I think just because of the
of course, yeah.
But talk to a priest. Talk to a priest about it. We're not experts on that kind of stuff. But I would, if you want my opinion, I would say certainly better to go talk to a priest.
We're not sure who is.
Father, I may need to confess this again. Fishy, it's time to get your questions in, guys, because we're going to wrap this up here in a few minutes. So if you have any questions for us, go ahead. Fish Eater, why are total state accountants seemingly resistant to holding a conclave? That's a really deep and interesting question. My opinion.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Matt does not like my opinion on this, but my opinion is that legally.
Go ahead.
Legally, we have the ability to do it because we have to be able to provide ourselves with a pope. So I think, this is purely my opinion, that our bishops could elect a pope legally, but they do not have the ability or unity to be able to do it. And it would turn out to be something more like Pope Michael, who, his mama made him pope, type of thing. So you can't have that. So I think it would be possible, but I think we've got a long ways to go. And probably we're going to need divine intervention, because I don't think any of the groups are even really thinking about it. But as far as I understand, Bishop Carmona was even actively trying to at least get the discussions going on the matter when he was killed in a car accident. So it's not, I don't know, a lot of people, maybe Matt included, say it's just kind of a dumb idea. And I just don't think that's true. If someone like Bishop Carmona, who is one of the true heroes of, sedevacantism, of the Catholic Church in the last 30, 40 years, can think that it's possible, then I think we need to at least take it with, possible. But I do. Difficult question for sure. Yeah.
I do think, just to answer this way, I do think the bishops that have spoken on it have said no. I don't know Bishop Pavrunis' thoughts. I've never heard of it, but
says, yeah.
I don't know what he publicly says, but I have heard, like, Dolan said no. Obviously Sanborn said no. Bishop McGuire said no. So none of them are even really on board with it. That's one reason why I don't even see it happening, is that I don't think any of them at all.
I agree. Yeah.
Are on board with it.
But I think they could. I think they could. My hope, my opinion, again, this is purely mine. I'm not saying it belongs to anyone else. is that a great saint can come along, say like a Saint Vincent Ferrer, Saint Catherine of Siena, Saint Francis, is that someone who comes along and goes and says, okay, now is the time, I am having conversations with Christ, pretty much. And you and you are going to meet and you're going to elect a pope. And I think that that's possible. Now, I know everyone's going to have the issue with, okay, are they, actual, bishops that are appointed by the Pope? And no, they're not. They can't be. So canon law eventually kind of has to go away, and it has to be replaced by the first law, which is divine law, which is the salvation of souls, which also in turn means there must be a Pope in order to lead that church to save souls. And so I think I could be totally wrong about this. So if there's a priest listening, you can say, Kevin, don't ever talk about this again, and I will listen. But that's what I think could be a possibility, and that's how we get a Pope.
If we forget the Cardinals and just look at Sanborn and Maguire and Pivrunis electing, then you've got a much higher shot, Kev, of getting elected. Your odds have gone up. Like,
yeah,
true. You could be it. I might be speaking with the few.
I think I'd turn it down. I think I must say I don't think I'll accept.
Not now.
Being pious.
My son says no. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think I'm good. I'm good with that one.
The the SSPV. I've heard back and forth things with them.
Yeah, they're valid. I mean, unfortunately they're very much against the Took ordinations and consecrations, but they're valid priests. So I mean, I would recommend them. I've heard that they're a good priest. I don't really know them well, but yes, I would say if you can go to confession with them, then absolutely do, Jake. That would be my.
I remember asking one time one of Bishop Sanborn's priests if I can go to confession with a Novus Ordo priest who was Father Gecko.
No, that I said I don't want to.
He does. He does. In fact, his wife is making the tiara tonight.
No, I said I don't want to be Pius the 13th.
But I asked one of Bishop Sanborn's priests if I can go to confession ever with a Novus Ordo priest who was ordained in the mid-1950s, who I know for sure is a valid priest, and I was told no. This was a couple years ago now, but do not.
I get it. Either, I mean, the kind of thing just leads to confusion. Now I'm sure if you asked that priest and you said, Father, I'm dying, and there's one priest nearby and it's this priest
in danger of death, yes.
His answer would be different. But if it's just like, hey, it's easier, can I pop by?
Right. Yeah, they're in danger of death. Yes, Thomas Aquinas said, necessity knows no law.
Yeah, so, but exactly necessity of electing a pope. So I definitely think. Yeah, see, Matt, see where I'm going here. I still think. As my dad says, Bishop Pivronis is against it because of unity. But if you had a unifying force like a great saint, I think the ability, yeah, exactly. Sure.
Once the ability catechizes all of.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll be nice. Sorry.
The ability to elect a pope, I think it has to exist, and I think that I don't know. I think it's there, but I know not everyone agrees with.
Kev, it's funny.
If I'm right, I'm going to say I told you so to all of you. Like, now we have a pope.
To write with what? I've thought this, and I've asked this. Hang on, I gotta scratch my ear here. There will be a problem if, I don't know. Let's just say for ha-has here, everybody but Bishop Sanborn, whom I love, gets into this conclave in wherever in the Starbucks cafe and elects a pope. You're going to have sedevacantists who accept it, and you're going to have sedevacantists who do not accept it. Have you ever thought of that too?
No, but that's certainly my point, though. It would have to be. Yeah, I agree with that. That's why you can't do it. Like I'm with you there. You can't just you can't exactly your situation there. It can't happen. It doesn't make sense. So it would have to be miraculous. You would have to have some sign from God, like a great saint who came clearly with the voice of God behind them and said, look, I am a great saint. I am working miracles. And I say you. I just think that I'm just saying
there ever been
ability to do it.
Has there ever been a great saint who says, I am a great saint? Like how you just.
But I mean, I don't actually say
I'm
that.
joking.
Their works say that. They're right. Wonders. Look at
a miracle.
St. Catherine of Siena was this nobody girl who pretty much spoke with Christ and went and brought the Pope back to Rome. These things can happen. So I think more of the question is there an ability to elect a Pope? I still think there is. See, Father, what does Father Gecko say? The church is a perfect society, not dependent on anything from outside the function. So even today, there must be power residing in the church, not heretical Rome, to elect a head. Yes, see, exactly. That's my point. There has to be the ability to elect a pope, and that's why I don't think the thesis makes sense, because that would be the ability to elect from outside of the Catholic Church, and I think that doesn't, compute.
Every now
we don't
and
have
then
to get into the thesis today. Well, that's probably for another show.
Again, for another. I'm not the expert on this either. I am not. I know we had a discussion once, but every now and then, Kev, just to bring this up, just to get my 2 cents back in, because I have to as an Italian. When you had your live stream, there were a few points that you made. I'm like, look, he's thesising over here. I heard it. I caught it. I think you made Mario brought it up, and he was like, you take a man in 1957 who was sitting in the pews. I'm like, he sees it. He sees it. Turn my mic on, and it didn't happen.
I mean, as I've said, if the thesis, the idea of that happens, if let's say Prevost comes and says, I am burning all the documents, I'm doing all this stuff, I will be the first one to say, I am watching this, and I will wait to see what the bishop says.
Not everybody agrees with you.
I know, but I'm like, hey, why would I just say no? I'm not going to say, I'm not that smart. I don't know for sure, but I see a lot of holes in it. Like Father Gecko said, the ability to elect a pope from within the Catholic Church. Novus Ordo is not the Catholic Church, thus they do not have the power to elect a pope. And there are other issues too, because I mean, even if, as you said, the universal election or acceptance, I should say, if Prevost does that, Bishop Sanborn says, "Yes, you are the Pope. I proclaim it so," and Bishop Pivrunas says, "No, I don't think so yet." I think that's it's the same.
Well, yeah, I've asked people associated with the CMRI if Prevost says all that you just said, burns the documents publicly and the whole list, would you accept him as the vicar of Christ? And they've said, no, I would not accept him. So either way, I think you're going to, when the situation is resolved, I do think you will have more falling aways in some, to some extent, because not everybody's going to agree. But I always love to see the comments. It's one of my. That's why I like doing these lives.
Live shows
we
are
say
fun,
this every time, but yeah, for sure. But I hope, Kev, that you do have another Mario Anthony discussion or whatever. I saw
there are none in the works. I had to say there are none in the works.
None in the works. All right.
No.
I saw Anthony's face though when Mario was like, materially he possessed, and it's like, oh, and after Mario spoke, Anthony was like, and you agree with all this? Like, it was a funny. I'm like, all right, I could, some people are not ready yet. Well,
or never mind. I'll
anyway, James Martin is just having a time.
He's having a
Pope
good day.
Martin. Maybe he'll be co-pope. Maybe we can have that.
I could see that. Yeah.
Co-pope.
So here's a question for you. I know we got to wrap it up, but
and then we'll wrap it up. Yeah.
If James Martin actually came out as gay, do you think he'd be reprimanded? It's not. He is gay. I mean, obviously. So I mean, if he actually came out and said, "I am a homosexual," would he be reprimanded?
Nope.
No, I don't think so either.
How many times did Bergoglio meet with these transgenders and tell them, you can Google this, you're doing God's work in the church? They
weren't
loved
they like the last ones to like hang something on his grave or something like that? Didn't they have a big part in his burial? Something like that. There was something with transgenders in his burial. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that, Matt?
I always think of the point. I always think of the point you made almost maybe a year ago now. Well, no, in April, where we say Prevost is that Vatican II liberal, whereas Bergoglio was like, bring in the naked witches. Like he was such a gift.
He was.
Truly.
He was.
Truly.
Oh, let's see.
But
Prevost
anyway.
He's taking steps to help us out too. So, I mean, this is a big thing. I mean, this is really good. I really, really appreciate him doing this type of thing, because it's like, hey, thanks. Bring people towards the truth.
Yeah.
Go hang out with all the gays. That's fantastic, because that will help people to understand he cannot be the Pope. So hopefully, I guess.
I remember Father Geckel told me a couple months ago that one day Prevost is going to have this ginormous ecumenical event, and I can't wait. He's going to. We all know he's going to the wall. It's on the schedule.
Yeah, sure. They all do it.
Schedule.
I'll do it. Bow to the Jews. I just recorded with Louis again about Vatican II, Lumen Gentium Part 2, and we talked quite a bit about that, about the Jews, and it's fascinating. It's really fascinating what is just written on paper in Lumen Gentium about how they are the most favoritist of God's creatures, pretty much. You guys got to listen to this one. It'll be published hopefully on Thursday with Louis. It's really fascinating and crazy. Just unbelievable. The stuff from Vatican II is just shocking. Like you can't even believe it until you hear it. But yeah, I guess that's what I'll leave you guys with. Definitely go and check that out. That'll be on Thursday. Otherwise, no, we don't really have any live shows planned. You never know. You know how these things are. They just kind of come out of nowhere. What I do want to start doing, and that's what I'd like real quick to get you guys' feedback in the comment section. I want to do on the weekends, probably a live show where I do kind of a roundup of material from the different Sede and almost Sede writers out there. So Mario, Louis, Intro Ebo, Stephen Cox, etc. And kind of like a little brief, hey, here's what these guys are talking about, because I really think that we have some really good momentum going here. That people are starting to really listen to truth tellers. And I think that's I don't know. I think it's a time to do something like this. So you guys let me know if that's something that you would watch. Like me doing a live show, just kind of like doing a little bit of a summary of these different articles and sharing the
I got, just really quick to add to that, I got several messages over the last few days from people on Twitter who said, I'm watching Leo the 14th here, and I'm noticing, like I see.
Yeah.
And so yeah, foot on the gas for truth, which is why we don't root for, we don't want bad things, but we want people to wake up and see this horror show, the Vatican. We want people to wake up to this horrific Vatican II religion that needs to be abandoned.
That's it. But amen to that. Well, thank you all in the comment section, especially Father Gecko. As always, it's a pleasure to have you here. Catherine, Dymphna, Portuguese, Commodus, kind of.
No Christine today. I noticed that.
Oh, true.
She's usually a fan. Yeah, no super chats.
She must be at a Mets game, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, no super chats. You guys got to super chat us next time.
Someone give us $10 now.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you give us $10 and I'll put your comment on the screen.
There's one or two of them out there, Kev, who are loaded. I know it. One or two of the
right.
Somebody's got to have a nice.
I am just waiting to be offered like a syndicated show. It's going to have like Sirius XM is going to call me up and be like, "Hey, you and Matt."
It happens. I know a guy.
Really?
Not that I know him personally, but yeah, he did a local radio, and his girlfriend at the time was related to somebody who was a big shot, and he's got a 6-figure contract on Sirius XM because of it.
That's awesome. Well, there you
go. Yeah.
Anyone out there who's a big shot?
You got the email.
Kevin do this.
G Davis, whatever it is.
Kevin 89.
89. Yeah, one of those.
Yeah, you guys can let me know if you're loaded. Matt and I would be okay with not doing this.
Super chats are welcome.
Yeah, exactly. Super chats are welcome.
Always welcome.
On that note, actually, Matt, we got to talk about this off air, but I think maybe one of these weeks, if there's no news, we got to do a rating of the top conservative pundits, and we could even do like a rating of the top Catholic pundits. That would actually be really fun because I just watched the show with Andrew Wilson, who just did it, and it was really actually pretty interesting. So you kind of rate, you have a rating scale of like charisma and intelligence and stuff, and it was pretty fun.
Barack
Obama's number one for sure. Father says Kevin along for super chat to start his people.
Yeah, he's lobbying.
Oh man. Oof, what did I?
He'll throw his Charizard at you from his vest.
Yeah, exactly. You know what though? I do wonder if
there it is.
Would be in the
Thank you, Catherine.
Oh, Catherine, you're awesome. See, Catherine's loaded. Thanks, Catherine. I think being the Pope might actually be easier than having 3 little children. I think that might be. I'm kidding, guys. I'm kidding. Anyway, all right, Catherine, thanks. You're our favorites, and you'll be our favorite for the rest of the week.
I could just picture you as Pope, though. with the tiara on, putting up your hand, saying, "We define, we declare, we proclaim," in your voice.
In my American, man, that's just, that would be rough. My Latin's not quite good enough.
You're gonna come out on the papal balcony and go, "I'm Kevin Davis, and this is the Catholic." Oh, hang on, that's not what this is.
Reflex. Oh man.
Sorry, everybody. It's natural. Oh man, that's funny.
On that note. All right. We'll see you all next week. God bless.